Hey, welcome back. It's been a while since I've done an African dish, so today I'll be making some Congolese stewed chicken over rice. And to get started, we need a whole chicken. I'm going to start by butchering it. And for some reason here in the States, they tend to stuff the neck and other goodies in a little bag inside of the chicken. But the neck is fun to munch on, so I'm going to pull that out. Chop it into a manageable size. And throw it in along with the rest of the chicken. I want the pieces to cook at a fairly regular rate, so I'll go ahead and chop the breast into multiple pieces. I'll dump that into a pot and add in enough water to cover the chicken. In my case, that was about 1.5 liters, but that all depends on the size of your chicken. Next, I want to add some seasoning cubes, and I was hoping to crush these into a powder so they dissolve more easily, but that just kind of mushed them into a paste. So I'll scrape that into the pot. Along with some fresh grated nutmeg. As well as some thyme. I'm using fresh thyme since I have it in my garden, but feel free to use dried thyme instead. And I'll add in 3 bay leaves as well. Turn on the heat to high. Bring that up to a boil. And we'll let that go for an hour. Now the chicken would be fully cooked after about 20 minutes, but what we're really doing here is making a flavorful chicken broth that we can put over our rice later. So after an hour, fish out those pieces of chicken. And I like to let them rest for a few minutes just to let out any extra steam, because now we're going to be frying them. So in a pan over medium-high heat, throw about 3 millimeters of oil. And once the oil is shimmering, I'll put in the chicken, working in batches. And we want to fry this till it's golden brown on every side, which is honestly pretty difficult. Since the skin has so much moisture in it, it really wants to stick to the bottom of the pan. So I ended up using a flat spatula to scrape it off the bottom. And the chicken is really tender after being cooked for an hour, so the wings fell completely apart. And some chunks of chicken fell apart as well. Honestly, if I do this again, I'm going to make a separate chicken stock. Then I'll pan fry a raw chicken, that way it has a better chance of staying together. But once it's golden brown, remove that out to a bowl. And now we'll work on a tomato sauce. What is a tomato sauce doing in a stewed chicken dish? Well, it adds a secondary flavor base to our stew, but honestly, I'm a little bit confused about the order of operations here. Regardless, I'm gonna slice up an onion. And rather than dirtying another pan, I'm gonna dump it straight into that oil. Along with a halved and chopped leek. Remember to give those a good rinse before throwing them in, since leeks can hold on to a lot of dirt. Next I'll chop up some scallion greens. Toss those in as well. Now I'm going to mince up 3 cloves of garlic. Toss those in, along with an equal amount of peeled and minced ginger. And I'll saute those all together until they're softened and fragrant. Next up, I want to add in some canned tomatoes. Now initially I thought I only needed a small can like this, and the only small cans they had were whole tomatoes. So I dumped those in and squished them up, and then realized that I needed more tomatoes. So I broke into my main stash of crushed tomatoes and poured in half of this big can. So all in all, that's about 800 grams of tomatoes, which I will stir and mix in. Now I want to cook and reduce those until basically all the moisture has evaporated. And you're left with a thick tomato onion sauce. At this point, we'll take our fried chicken and dump it back into our broth, which I'm not sure why you'd want to take perfectly crispy chicken and put it back into a liquid, but that's the recipe, so I'm sticking to it. I'll add in that tomato sauce. As well as some spinach. And you could add a whole bunch of other vegetables here as well. It's really up to you. And as always, that looks like a lot of spinach. But as we all know, it's going to end up being a very small amount of spinach. Cover that up. Bring it to a simmer. Give it a good stir. And let it go for 15 or 20 minutes until the spinach is cooked through and the chicken has warmed back up. And at that point, I'll plate up some white rice. Throw on a few pieces of chicken. Some spinach. And a good drizzle of sauce. And this ends up being a really nice bowl of stew. And most of the flavor that comes through comes from those alliums, the onions, the garlic, the leeks, as well as some of that ginger. Definitely could add in more nutmeg and more thyme just to amp up those flavors. Super tender, super flavorful, goes well with rice. I'm not sure I would follow all the steps in that order next time, but that's probably just me. So let me know in the comments what you would do differently, or if you've made this before. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more international recipes like this. Become a patron to support the channel, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.